if I just, to be honest, for the first ever Zoom meeting I attended, I also wore a blazer over pajamas. But I realized that it was bringing me down somewhere because,
in your mind.
yes.
So, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to yet another session at Thinkly Talks. This is the business networking community, business networking with Vipul Bondal. And my guest today is the very, very special Rakhee Gupta, the lifestylist. Well, brief introduction about Rakhee. So, she is a renowned image and etiquette consultant, experienced as a journalist, being a feature writer and also a television producer gives her a unique perspective in her current line of work. Her expertise lies in bringing together image uplifting, social presence, and individual style. Passionate about transforming lives, she caters to a diverse set of clientele spanning children, young adults, individuals, couples, small companies, and large companies with precision and finesse. Her commitment to enhancing lives extends to touching every stage of the human lifespan. Welcome, the lifestylist, Rakhee Gupta.
Thank you so much, Vipul. And it's such an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Okay. So, when I was going through your profile and I read the word lifestyle, I was thinking why there is a hyphen. And then as I read it a little more, I realized it's not the lifestyle as we know it, but lifestyle as in life-stylist. So can you debunk that word a little bit? Can you make it easier for us to understand what do you mean by lifestyle?
When we say lifestyle, normally people associate it with a particular lifestyle. But when I say lifestyle, uh, I'd like everyone to remember when we live our life, we have multiple personalities, multiple facets. Ourselves, we are different roles everywhere. We are socially a different person, professionally, we are someone else. We have so many different roles, and in all those roles, we need to conduct ourselves differently.
Right.
As we say, one size doesn't fit all. Similarly, one behavior doesn't fit all, one standard doesn't fit all.
Okay.
So, in this lifestyle, we all need to know what it is. I mean, we all live multiple lives actually. So, that's why the lifestyle.
Okay. So you're saying we live multiple
Yes,
lives, as in,
yes,
maybe one role as a parent, the
yes.
other role as a student, the third role as a business entrepreneur or whatever else. So do you kind of bring in the unique facets of each of these elements and then do what you do?
Yes. So I help people understand how they should conduct themselves in each one of these lives, in each one of these roles. Uh, you know, everyone thinks yes, it is about upgrading yourself, but it isn't about changing you as a person. It
Okay.
isn't about, I'm lucky I speak good English, but not everyone speaks perfect English. It's not even a
That's right.
national language. It just
That's
happens
right.
to be a language of convenience. So I help people disassociate that part with what they need to do when they behave themselves, when they conduct themselves. So I guide people in appropriate dressing, body language, manners to adapt to different situations.
Okay. So that brings me to uh, you know something that I've been thinking about ever since I decided to get you onto the show. So each one lives, so let's say corporate lifestyle is a different type of lifestyle, right? Whereas, traditional Indian businesses are set in different milieus. Let's say a teacher would be in a different milieu. Teacher teaching, let's say in a convent school would be in a different milieu than, some other. So how does that work? I mean, what is the way do you go about doing it?
So when someone comes to me with a certain need, most people come believing that they want to learn to live better, especially in the social sphere or the professional sphere. At the
Okay.
same time, I need to remind them, I always do remind them that while you're doing that, you don't forget your roots. So you know, normally people associate etiquette, the word only with dining etiquette,
Right.
whereas it is so much more. Uh, how I speak, public speaking, how I conduct myself when I'm talking to someone. Often it is not about what I know, it is about communicating in a way the other person will understand. It's about dressing appropriately. An example I always like to give everybody is that when I enter an MNC, how I
Right.
speak to the doorman and how I speak to the CEO are going to be very different. I cannot
Okay.
speak to the doorman in the CEO's language. He wouldn't understand anything. And I cannot speak to the CEO in the doorman's language. I definitely wouldn't get the job.
Right.
But it's very important for me to communicate correctly with both of them. And that is what I guide people with.
So, does that mean that you need to understand the various ways of what is acceptable in a certain environment versus what is not acceptable? Does that
Yes,
does that
culture
mean that you need to
plays,
be aware of those cultures?
yes, culture plays a very important role. When I'm guiding someone, I also conduct workshops for people who are traveling internationally.
Okay.
We know that body language differs in different countries. Hand signs have different meanings. What is good over here could be an abuse in another part of the world. So I
All
also
right.
do that as well. So it's very important. Culture is very important.
Okay. So how do you normally approach your profession? I mean, how does so let's say somebody comes to you. How much time do you take to try and understand what kind of a background that person comes from, where he or she works, maybe, for example, or where he or she studies or is likely to study? I mean, do you actually need to study all of these things before you
Yes, my first
embark on a
session
program with them?
Yes, my first session actually comprises of that. In my
Okay.
first session for the individual programs, which is the finishing program, can also be done in twos as couples or as business partners.
Right.
Um, for that particular program, I always sit with people individually and go through their life history, their ambition, what are they looking for, where do they want to go from here. And while I'm doing all this, I video record it. Of course, the kind of profession I am in, it's an unspoken rule that the information or the video recording never gets shared with anyone.
Right.
Pictures and certain other things may get shared only with permission. So because that helps me show it to them later to understand. While it gives me an insight and helps me understand what they're looking for, it
Right.
also helps them understand what part of their body language is inappropriate or what they need to work on. So
Okay.
it helps in both ways.
Okay. What about cultures where there is very little use of English, let's say, or
Mm-hmm.
even Hindi?
Mm.
Let's say, in Mumbai, typically you have a lot of family, I mean, lot of business families where, English might hardly get spoken. They might be operating with Gujarati or, any other language. And that's normal course, right? I mean, firstly, do you get people from such places? And if yes, how do you go about it? Because, you need to be integral. You need to understand their culture very well. How do you go about
Yes, people do come, and most of them come to upgrade themselves, in their words, because they feel they need to learn the sophisticated lifestyle to go out socially.
it?
In
Okay.
today's day and age, we know, so as we know that what we see sells, better than what really it is. And research has proven that when someone meets you for the first time, they form an opinion about you in the first 7 to 10 seconds before you have even spoken a word.
Right.
And that is all because of the way you dress, the way you communicate with your body. And even once you start speaking, how you speak is more important than what you speak. So that's something that everybody wants to learn and needs to learn, I think.
So, what I also wanted to understand is what you normally do is a part of your as an image consultant or etiquette consultant. Is it more closely linked to corporate India or not really? I mean, how what is the bulk of what you teach or what the people that you consult? I mean, are they largely uh, gearing up or part of a corporate career, or they are the traditional Indian businesses, or
Uh,
is there no or are the barriers broken now? I mean,
yeah,
just to
there are
give
no
me a flavor of
barriers.
what.
There are no barriers. A lot of companies have, these kind of workshops conducted to help their sales force or their front office staff uh, upgrade themselves and represent the company in a better way when they are
Right.
going out or
Okay.
they're dealing with the clients. Um, Also, at the same time, you have individual entrepreneurs who need, understand the importance of making a better impression when they go out to pitch for themselves. So
So that's
it's
the kind of
an
people.
amalgamation of both. And
Okay.
sadly, our educational system is very academic and very marks oriented. There's
Right.
no personality development over there. So a lot of our students are lacking in that. So it really helps them also when they learn how to express themselves and use their knowledge to make a better impression.
So, Rakhi, I mean, we actually knew each other very briefly, if you remember, in the 90s when you were a journalist, and I continue to do what I do. And of course, we haven't had a chance to meet much after that, but I was very surprised when I met you recently in this avatar of yours. So, can you tell me, I mean, how did you move from journalism and television into this? I mean, it might be a very interesting life story which might give us a little insight on what kind of a person you are.
Yes. So before that, I'd like to tell you that I was very, very shy as a child,
Okay.
very quiet. And journalism was my first rebellion in life. It was not
Okay.
something my parents were happy with me doing. I mean, me trying out that profession. But I loved it and I gave it my all. And I also dabbled in television production. But then,
Okay.
like most women of my generation, I gave it all up when I was going to have a baby. So I
Okay.
actually mark my life in before Arya. Arya is my son, who's 25
Right.
now, and
Right.
after Arya. So in my before Arya phase, this is what I was doing. There were, of course, as you know, a profession like journalism has no timings.
Yeah.
Uh, you,
Absolutely.
so I was able to deal with it then. But post Arya, I wanted to be a hands-on full-time mother. And like I said, like most women of my generation, I gave it all up. I
Right.
didn't even feel as if I was, depriving myself of something. It just seemed very logical to me at that point of time.
Right.
And during the years when I was a full-time mother, I dabbled in a couple of things. I baked healthy cakes, started
Okay.
with baking for my son. I I made chocolates, and
Okay.
I also did research for a film script, which was so controversial that the film never got made. But
Okay.
I was always trying to do something which would make me happy, and I realized I was not cut out for those things.
Hmm.
When my son was in the eighth standard, my husband just very gently suggested that he's growing up, he's going not going to need you anymore, you've done
Right.
enough, so think of what you want to do, get back into the workforce, you're too intelligent to waste yourself, you're not going to
Okay.
be happy sitting at home. So I started researching. The normal idea that everybody gave me was take up tuitions, because I used to make English papers for my son and his friends, but it didn't excite me. And one day I came across a television program, international television program, and that got me thinking and researching, and I discovered image consulting. Cut to, I enrolled myself for an image consulting course in India. I
Right.
discovered there was one. And midway through the course, I came home one day and I complained to my husband. They don't know etiquette. I was guiding the instructor on what needs to be done in, this particular case. She was not aware.
Okay.
And he laughed at me. I don't know, maybe it was my very strict convent schooling or my upbringing, but I
Right.
was always fascinated with, I call it the tam jam. I mean, even when I have my coffee, I need all the tam jam. When I have my chai, I need all the tam jam. So he laughed at me and he said, then why don't you go abroad and do it?
Okay.
So a lot of research. Again, it took me a while to convince myself, but thanks to the two gentlemen in my life, my husband and my son, who convinced me that it was a very good idea. My husband convinced me that he could afford it, and we would manage very well. And I went. And believe me, it was the best experience I had. It was the first time I went somewhere. I had been to London before, of course, but it was the first time I went somewhere where there was no one to receive me. I went and lived in a hotel for the first time alone in my life. I mean, I was all alone in a hotel room. I
Okay.
attended classes in the day. I did my assignments in the evening. I explored the city on weekends like I'd never seen it before. And I had a lot of fun, and I came back a changed person. That
Okay.
1 month was an absolutely life-changing experience while I was studying for my etiquette certifications. So that brought me into this,
Mm.
and I love sharing this story a little extra details because I was lucky I had the support system at home, that
Right.
my husband and son wanted me to go out and reclaim my life. Most women get caught in this little vicious circle once they have
That's right.
stepped into
That's
it
right.
and don't get a way out. So I'm sorry for taking a little extra time there.
No, no, that's all right. I think there's a lot of learning for men in what you've just said because, your husband noticed that you had this talent and this interest in doing what you did, and he kind of pushed you into doing what you're currently doing and doing so well. So I think there needs to be a little tweak in that famous dialogue. I mean, which says that behind every successful man, there is a woman. I think we can tweak it.
Of
Behind some
course.
successful women, there is a man.
Oh,
So I think
yes.
I think we can say that, at least
Yes.
in your case.
Absolutely, yes. Uh, Digressing again, once again, it's a little funny story, but when you have a child, in my generation,
Yeah.
I'm 50 plus, and at that point of time, and as is the custom in certain families, the husband gifts you jewelry. My husband
Right.
bought me a PC. And
Okay.
at that time, the PC was far more expensive than the jewelry, and I thought, what a waste of money. And his response to me was, you're going to love this because this is your window to the world while you're stuck at home. So
Right.
please learn to use it and take advantage of it. So he's always been very far-sighted where technology is concerned. So
Right.
yes, definitely the driving force in my life.
Fantastic. Okay. So coming back to the main topic again. So
Mm,
in terms of etiquette,
mm,
so we've seen this importance of dressing and etiquette and all of that. But one of the more prevalent things these days is etiquette online.
yes,
Zoom etiquette as we call it. So are there any specific Zoom etiquette that you might want to talk about? I mean, or which in your experience people don't follow and should follow and so on?
definitely yes. Uh, One very important thing, that you have to dress for a Zoom meeting the way you would dress for an in-person meeting. I even wear shoes
Oh, okay.
because it puts you in the right frame of mind when you're dressed for it. If I just, to be honest, for the first ever Zoom meeting I attended, I also wore a blazer over pajamas. But I realized that it was bringing me down somewhere because,
In your mind.
yes. And then when, I mean, also those were very early days before Zoom etiquette evolved.
Right.
I'm privileged to be a part of certain groups or online and some communities of other etiquette coaches where all these things are discussed on a regular basis. And
Right.
that's where Zoom etiquette actually evolved. We didn't have it before the pandemic, of course.
Correct.
So it dawned on me, and then it's very important. That's why to dress appropriately. At the same time, as we were discussing, it's very important to have a good background.
Yeah.
In your case, you are using a
Virtual
background,
background.
yeah,
Yes.
a virtual background. In my case, I'm not using a virtual background, but it is clean. There's nobody walking behind me. There's nobody, doing anything in between. So that is the other part of it that we need to be very
Correct.
careful about. In Mumbai, we live in small flats. So sound sometimes becomes a little difficult, but
Correct.
at least while you're on Zoom with someone, put your phone on silent. You have
Right.
to have the phone. Tell people around you to maintain the peace as far as possible. So these are little important things that you need to take care of.
Make sure there are no barking dog and
You
things
can't
like that.
control barking dogs, but at least not in your house.
Yeah, sure. Okay, great. So, I'll take a couple of questions from the audience. So,
Sure.
because there are some coming in. Alia has this question. Many people struggle to define their personal brand. Do you have any exercises or prompts that can help individuals identify their core values and unique selling points?
It's very personalized. So when someone comes to me for their personal brand, we do an exercise. Like I said, the first questionnaire I have is what they're trying to achieve, what they want to do, what do they see to benefit from this entire exercise, the kind of person they want to project. And that is when we start working on. Ideally, I do not ever recommend people any cosmetic procedures or weight loss programs. It's all about utilizing what you have and
Right.
making the best of it. But in certain extreme cases, there would be smaller, like go for a haircut. I mean, if it's a woman who needs it, then maybe I would recommend her to a makeup coach or give her a little guidance myself. And that is how you build your personal brand. Of
Right.
course, one of the activities I also do is helping them identify the colors that work for them, because eventually it's an entire package that we
Right.
are looking at. So the personal colors also help you in building your personal brand.
So here, so your contribution when it comes to personal brand is more from a perspective of how you come across, right? I mean,
Yes. How you
okay.
present yourself in public. If you're trying to build your company brand as a professional, I'm sure there are others who do that. That's not
Correct.
my portfolio. I wouldn't, jump into something I'm not very familiar with.
So this community here, Rakhi, is all about business networking.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons the most of the guests who are on the show, or rather all the guests who've been on the show so far, are people who are growing their business through business networking. And so are you. I mean, you are also a member of BNI. So tell
Yes.
us how business networking has helped you in your business so far.
Okay. It has given me the opportunity to interact with a very big community of people. And in my kind of profession, it's very, very important to walk the talk. And that is what attracts people to you and brings you clients. So when someone sees you or interacts with you, their experience is going to bring me clients word of mouth.
Right.
And honestly, the kind of work I do, nobody ever goes out there and tells everybody that, listen, here is an image consultant you should go to, or here is someone who can help you in this,
Right.
except maybe for the corporate trainings part of it.
Right.
Everybody likes to behave as if they were to the manor born.
Right.
That's what I like to say. Nobody will come and confess to a friend that I went to somebody and I've learned to do all this over there. So in this case, the word of mouth
Makes a
sharing
difference.
makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, because nobody's going to openly go and say that, I went to Rakhi and I transformed into this fantastic
Nobody,
human being that you see me today. I
absolutely
mean,
not.
unfortunately, people don't, but the difference becomes very obvious, and that's when I think a lot of people ask, and that's how word of mouth then
Yes.
perhaps
And
gets
then it's
done
only
because
very
somebody is seeing.
secretive, like, oh, and then it comes. So whenever someone comes to me through someone, you know that it is very confidential.
Right.
There was a lot of trust involved, and that's why the person knows about you.
Correct. Correct. And you've been a member of BNI now for what, 8 years, 8 or 9 years now?
No, no, 6.5, 7 years.
6.5 years. Okay. So how's been your journey in BNI so far?
My journey in BNI has been very pleasant. I have grown so much as a person, to be very honest. Vipul, you know that BNI teaches you to introduce yourself in 30 seconds. I
Right.
always thought introducing myself and my work would take 30 minutes. I never believed that, the elevator pitch was for me. But BNI has taught me that how to use that elevator pitch for me. I count that as one of my greatest achievements. BNI has also taught me, I mean, this is going to sound like a plug literally, but no, it's the fact. I call it my MBA. I didn't even know so many businesses existed in the world. And
Right.
it has helped me grow immensely as a person as well. Uh, in between, during the pandemic, there was a lull in business, definitely the kind of work I do. But I was also able to take advantage of Zoom and conduct Zoom etiquette workshops for
Right.
BNI members, through BNI for groups, etc., etc. So that has really helped me. The last couple of years, personally, because of whatever reason, I was a little low on my work
Right.
because I was not participating enough. I was not putting in efforts. But in the last 3, 4 months, I have rewired myself literally,
Okay.
and I'm now here with a bang. So I'm taking advantage of it and it's beautiful. That's all I
Okay.
can say.
Okay. Great. So, coming back to business etiquette again, there's a lot of questions which are being shared on the community. So I'll ask one which is
Sure.
very, very interesting, which has come from Pia. She says, could you share some tips on proper telephone etiquette for business calls? So is something you do? Is that part of what
Oh,
you do?
yes,
Telephone
that
etiquette?
definitely
Okay,
is part
so
of what I
tell us
do.
a little bit.
Okay, the first thing that when you call someone, sadly, the mobile phone has blurred the line between personal and professional space.
Sure.
Vipul, you and I know when we started our careers, we left people only had our professional numbers, and after a certain time, nobody
Yeah.
answered the phone.
Nobody answered the call.
The work waited till the next day. But because of mobile phones, that lines have been blurred. So if
Yeah.
you're calling someone beyond working hours, always send a text first asking for permission to
Right.
call and give a brief explanation about what it is uh, before you actually call after the person grants you the permission. So that's a very important thing to follow. My pet peeve is just randomly sending a hi when you're messaging someone. Please, please, please introduce yourself. I see that even on social media, people sending you friend requests, their accounts are locked. uh, Please, how is anyone going to know who you are and why should they accept your request, or why should I respond to an unknown number's message if I
Yeah.
don't know who you are and what it is about? So these
Okay.
things really need to be followed.
So here, her question was more to do with telephone etiquette uh, for business calls. So if and then any other etiquettes that you have, I mean, one is of course when to reach out and when to call,
Mhm.
etc. Any other things that you want to say as part of the telephone etiquette?
Stay before when you start the conversation, please always tell people, ask them if it's okay to speak at this particular moment and how much time you're going to take from them. Please give them a brief about that.
Okay.
The second thing is be very to the point. After your pleasantries about how are you, etc., etc., don't continue. Just get to the point and get your work done at the earliest. Time is precious for everyone. So, of course, that's all I can tell you. And how you address people, how you deal with them depends on the situation you are
It
in.
depends
And
on.
yes,
So basically, what you're saying is the etiquette has to be one is permission oriented. So you take permission
yes,
before you call, and also be aware of the fact that time is limited. So
yes.
it's not as though even if they've
We
given
mean
you
not
time,
having
they have all the time
conversations.
in the world.
One of the things that we always talk about in etiquette is don't make a meeting out of something that could have just been an email. So
Ah,
again, time is precious,
correct,
and
correct.
people are doing too many things at one time these days.
Thank you. Thanks, Rakhi. So there's one more question from Lavanya Singh. The question is, what innovative strategies can businesses implement to encourage healthier lifestyle choices among employees? I'm not sure this is exactly in your domain, but
No, this is
if
not in
there's
my domain, definitely not. This is the other lifestyle that people
uh,
normally talk about.
okay. So sorry, Lavanya. I think the word lifestyle has got a
Misled her.
little misunderstood. But nevertheless, thanks for the question. There's one question from Nitesh Jadhav. He says, I often receive email invitations to business events or webinars. What is the best way to respond to these invitations, especially if I'm unable to attend? Would this
Very
again come
simply,
under your
yes,
domain?
yes,
Okay,
this
this
does
one
come
comes.
under.
Okay, so please.
So it's very simple. If you are interested in continuing the communication with them, take the effort to actually message them that I will not be able to make it this time. Apologies, but please do let me know when such and such event is happening again. I would love to join it. And if you are not interested, block, unsubscribe. That's about it. No need to give any kind of response because there's enough spam over there. We don't need to respond to spam.
That's right. Okay. So do you have some more time, Raki? Can I take a few more questions?
Sure, definitely yes.
Okay. So there's one question from Jeel. The question is, I want to know how to make a positive first impressions in social setting.
Uh, all right, Jill, I would love to tell you that, but it's going to be a little difficult telling you this over, Zoom or this kind of a medium. Very important, you dress appropriately. It's a lot of work, actually, and it's not something I can just tell you without really seeing you. But walk with the right posture, When you sit somewhere, please sit correctly. When you're talking to someone, ensure that you have a conversation which is two-way. Don't let the other person dominate the conversation and don't dominate the conversation either. We always joke about this and say that God has given us two ears and one mouth, and we should use them
Use it
appropriately.
appropriately. That's
So
very
that's very important. And don't react to questions and situations. Always respond carefully.
There's one question from Fahad. He's saying building a refined lifestyle is a journey. I think he's
Yes,
right. Are there
absolutely.
any resources you recommend, such as books, websites, or courses that might help people in their personal growth after this session?
Uh, Websites and
Or
books.
books, or
Books
something that
there.
they can read up before they can come over to you, just so that they're
Books
a
there
little
are
more on.
plenty actually. You could just look up, but I'm not sure most of them are available in India. In India, we have a very limited resource of books
Right.
on this topic. I hope I'm able to break that someday and have my own. But you can actually Google stuff. That would be a brilliant idea, I think, in today's day and time. And there are so many videos that people put out there. You could even go and have a look at those. And of course, I'm always there. Please do come. Come and have a cup of coffee with me and let's have a discussion and understand what you're looking for.
Well, on that note, Rakhi, actually, why don't you drop your email ID and your LinkedIn here, so that anybody who wants to get in touch with you can do that after the session.
All right, I'll do
Uh,
that.
yeah, if you can do that, I'll paste it onto the community. This
Sure.
is something we normally do, so they
Thank you
can
so much.
reach
I'll do
out
that.
to you. And this will be the last question, Rakhi.
Sure.
Uh, and this is from Nikita Singh, and her question is also quite in line with that. So she says, I often find myself in situations where I'm unsure how to gracefully exit a conversation at networking events. What are some of the polite ways of doing so to wrap up a conversation without seeming abrupt or disinterested? A very good question, Nikita. Thank you for asking.
Yes, believe me, that's a very difficult situation to be in for any one of us. The best thing to do is always wear your smile. One great excuse is to go get water or a drink or a coffee or go for a bathroom break.
Right.
If you see someone else you know, excuse yourself very politely and say that I want to go and meet so and make your exit. So there are multiple ways of doing it. The only important thing is that you keep smiling and take permission, apologize to everyone while leaving, make your exit gracefully.
Thank you. That was a great conversation, Rakhi. Uh, I think we're done with all the questions. We're done with the questions from the audiences as well. So thank you very much for your time. I think this session will help a lot of people in, taking their journey forward in terms of improving their etiquette, improving the way they uh, come across and come across in business settings and social settings, and how to make a good first impression, how to have a great discussion, and how to conduct themselves well on Zoom, including the tip that you gave me at the start of the meeting. Thank you very much for that.
My pleasure.
Thanks, and have a great day. And in the meanwhile, if you can leave your number, I mean,
Sure.
you leave
In
your
the
email
chat
ID
box.
and your LinkedIn
And
on the chat,
should we
I will
share
post it
should we
on the.
share the tip that I gave you with everyone?
Sure. So why
All
don't you
right.
put it on WhatsApp? I'll put it on the community.
All right, I'll
So
do
this
that.
this call is going to end in a few minutes.
All right. So I'll share that. And the tip also, I put it on WhatsApp or do I say it here?
Yes, on the WhatsApp, so I can share it onto the community.
Sure, I'll do that.
Thank
All
you,
right.
and on behalf of Thinkly Talks, thank you very much for your time, Rakhi, and have a great day.
Thank you for having me, Vipul, and it was an absolute pleasure being here. Thank
Thank
you.
you.